I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you all for being here today, and welcome to your Innovation Technology General Services Committee. I'm joined by my colleague, Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell. Councilmember Bonin may or may not be joining us, and we should have probably one of our fastest hearings, I would think, because one of our larger items, which was item 4, because of a scheduling issue on the part of the consultant, we'll end up continuing that to the next meeting. So let's move forward. And actually, Mr. Villanueva, are there any general public comment cards?
We don't have any, sir.
Okay, great. So then what I'm going to do is, unless there's an objection from Mr. O'Farrell, I'm going to recommend that items 1 and 2 be approved on consent. These are just general service leases that are pretty standard.
So moved.
Great. No objection. Hearing no objection, or confirmation that there is no objection, items 1 and 2 are approved on consent. And now we will move to item 3. Mr. Villanueva, would you read item 3, please?
Certainly, sir. Item number 3 is MFC and GSD reports relative to a lease agreement with Gold Coast Village LLC for the boat storage at 13755 Fiji Way, Marina del Rey, for the Bureau of Sanitation's continued use of 2 vessel berths, H248 and H249. We do not have any speaker cards in this item, sir.
It's fairly straightforward, but 1 or 2 quick questions, and one off from Mr. O'Farrell questions too. Could we have staff from GSD and Sanitation come to the table?
Hi, my name is Mas Dojiri. I'm the Division Manager for the Environmental Monitoring Division for LA Sanitation.
My name is Stan Asado. I'm the Biology Section Manager for the Environmental Monitoring Division.
Raul Mendoza from the CAO's office. GSD isn't here right now, so I can help answer questions as well.
Okay. Do you want to start with any comments on this, or do you want? I'm happy to just ask a question.
We'll be happy to address any questions that you may have.
So the main question that kind of jumped up is we have this ship or boat that we go out and we do testing, and it begs the question: is it cheaper to do it through a third party? Have we looked into that to have to glom onto a larger testing facility that's out there, or is this really? Have we done the work to show that it's actually more cost effective to have our own boat, our own lease rental, and all the costs that go along with it? Because it seems like, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about what the process is, it seems like it's a fairly routine process in terms of the water quality testing, right? Maybe you could tell us a little bit what the water quality testing process really is, and then answer the question.
It actually is legally required monitoring, and it's required by the Regional Water Quality Control Board of the Los Angeles region, and that responsibility is given to them by the State Water Resources Control Board. Because the waters that we monitor slightly go beyond into federal waters, U.S. EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, jointly issues that permit. And the permit is called the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Permit, or the Mpds Permit. And essentially what it does is it specifies all the types of testing that we have to do, when we have to do it, the frequency that we have to do it, the data analysis and the methodology we use, as well as reporting requirements. And so we go out into Santa Monica Bay and we do a water quality survey, and essentially what that entails is dropping a computer profiler into the water at 54 stations in Santa Monica Bay. And essentially the purpose of that is to track the effluent plume, the treated sewage that comes out of the outfall, the 5-mile outfall from Hyperion, and we track it to see where it is, where it goes in Santa Monica Bay, and very importantly, where it isn't. So we have that survey. We also have a survey called the Benthic Infarnal Sampling and Analysis Program, where we go out on the boat to various stations in Santa Monica Bay. And
is this every day, or is it every week? Or?
No, it's a specified frequency. It is annually, but there's a lot of stations that we have to cover, so it's a multiple number of days that we go out. And we look at these small little invertebrate animals, small crustaceans, marine worms, etc., to see if the biological community right at the outfall is different from the stations that are further away, to see if the effluent discharge is affecting the benthic community. We have a similar program for the trawled fish, the demersal fish, those fish that live near the bottom where you would expect a higher concentration of pollutants, as well as the larger invertebrates like starfish, sea urchins, etc. And we also have a rig fishing program where we catch sports fish, do tissue chemistry analysis to ensure that the sports fish that are caught by the Marina del Rey boat charters in Santa Monica Bay are safe for consumption, human consumption. So it's a fairly extensive program, and you're correct that most of what I just mentioned is routine now. We've been doing it for 30 years, but there are also, other special programs that we're involved in. For example, we do some research type studies on contaminants of emerging concern. These are pharmaceuticals and personal care products that go out with the sewage and have been recently found to cause some tissue problems for fishes that live out there and may end up affecting human health. And we have other research programs, for example, harmful algal bloom programs that we do, as well as a regional monitoring program where we coordinate with 62 different agencies from point consumption all the way past the Mexican border to get an environmental snapshot of what's going on in Santa Monica Bay and relate it to the rest of the Southern California bight.
And the main question, and I assume you've done the analysis, is that it's cheaper to actually have your own boat and have your own rental of a dock space and all the costs that go with that,
right?
Versus just hiring a boat on the X number of days that you need it, or working with a third party or something to that effect. And you've done that analysis, and it's substantially
right.
cheaper?
Yeah, not only have we done it, but Orange County sanitation districts, our counterparts in Orange County, have also done that analysis, and they found that they're about $500,000 a year cheaper than a private consulting company. And we found similar sorts of, in our cost comparison, we compared it to two different consulting firms, and we found that we were much cheaper.
Okay, I guess that's what I didn't see in the materials was that comparison. But I take your word for it, and just wanted to make sure that was out there.
Sure.
Sure, Carol.
This is fascinating to me, a real eye-opener, something that I was completely unaware of. About how many staff hours per week is required of these 54 locations that you have to evaluate within a year?
We probably go out on in Santa Monica Bay about, I think we have about 100 boat days. That's for the LA Harbor and Santa Monica Bay. I think it's like 40 days in Santa Monica Bay that we're actually out there for the routine monitoring. We go out there for other special purposes as well.
And this is to comply with all federal regulations?
Federal and state, yes, that's right.
And how many full-time employees does this require?
It depends on how you ask that question. The Environmental Monitoring Division has about 100 scientists, but specifically for that ocean monitoring program, I think we have 5, but that includes a supervisor. So we have 4 marine biologists, essentially.
Terrific.
We have other marine biologists, but they don't go out on the boat. They do laboratory testing.
It sounds like it's pretty highly specialized.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, keep up the great work, and without objection, we'll approve this item. So hearing no objection, or confirming no objection, with this item is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, item 4, as I mentioned, will be continued to the next meeting, and that brings us to item 5, which, Mr. Villanueva, would you read this item into the record?
Yes, sir. Item number 5 is an MFC report relative to a revised project budget, schedule, and authority to proceed with the remaining phases of the Channel 35 television studio relocation and digital equipment upgrade project at El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historic Park. We do not have any cards on this item.
No cards. Great. And I see we have our representatives from ITA and engineering. And so please.
Good afternoon. Mahmoud Karimzadeh, Principal Architect with Bureau of Engineering. Thank you for your time. Last time when we came here, we had additional scope, and we have that approved. And this time we like to basically report that MFC has approved the rest of the project, complete design and construction of the project, and report on our final cost analysis. We have finished and completed the schematic design, so we are able to give a better cost estimate of the project. We had the range of $19 to $23 million last time, and now our construction cost is at, our project cost is at $22 million. The $22 million has a few changes in there than the last report we had before you. One is the equipment and digital equipment that we had in part of the $19 to $23 million before. We took it out for many reasons. One is to be able to focus on the design and construction aspects of the building and have a better monitoring system. Two, the digital equipment list may get the update often while we're going through this design. The department wanted to keep the ability to update the list of the equipment, since there are so much changes with the digital equipment in a short period of time. And as a matter of fact, since we estimated the digital equipment, part of the last report was estimated at $3 to $4 million. However, now we bring it below the line, and it has increased. The number has increased since the equipment has changed, the market has changed, the new technology is in, basically. The other couple of changes we had compared to the last time is, and I kind of preliminarily reported on this with you, is the addition of a scope that you approved last time. The addition of the live audience studio and the Masonic hall to the project also added some construction and some design costs to the project. So we anticipate the design will finish by the spring of next year, and hopefully we finish construction by the 2017, the fall of 2017. So the project moving along, hopefully rapidly. I'll be glad to answer any question you might have.
Great. So just, you were saying that the cost of the digital equipment went up.
Yes.
Which is unusual. Usually you expect the technology equipment, the technology price to go down. So maybe you could help us understand that a little bit.
Sure.
Mark Wolf, Executive Officer with ITA. Council members, the cost of the equipment, the original estimate that was part of the budget initially was revised once we brought the consultant on board that's part of the team that is doing the engineering and schematic design for the project. As a result of their expertise, they recommended additional funding be added for fully equipping the facility as needed. Also, in addition, because of the addition of the live audience theater, there's additional equipment costs that were not originally scoped in the project. So ITA plans to bring forward within the next 30 days the 5-year plan that has been requested by Council for the telecommunication development account. That's the cable franchise monies coming into the city, specifically the capital funds, the 1% funds. So as part of that 5-year plan proposal, we're including an increase in cost to account for the additional equipment cost for this relocation effort.
And I guess, and at that point, we'll see more about what I'm only imagining what the equipment is, that it's more audience interactivity, and I'm just guessing about all the things that could be part of because clearly what the equipment was enhanced as far as what's going to be there, and making it more state-of-the-art and able to do more types of things with live audience, and which is exciting. I just trying to understand it.
Sure, and I think also, again, not to take anything away from the city staff that were part of developing the original budget, with bringing in the consultant that was really specialized, the breadth of team members that we have on the project that is under the management of Bureau of Engineering includes structural engineers, architects, specialists in doing design for studios, television studios. So they brought in a whole different perspective and level of expertise. And through their advice and looking at really what was originally scoped, we really underfunded the amount of equipment that was going to be necessary for the project.
And then the addition of the Pico house.
Councilman, what we did was we went through the structural analysis of the Pico House and Merced Theater and the Masonic Hall. And as expected, the structure of these buildings are one. They are basically using the same foundation and wall between the Merced Theater and Pico House. So either we do a structural rehabilitation of the building separating these two, or we have to do it together. And of course, it's most cost-effective and reasonable and feasible to do it together. So we are going to report to MFC next month, hopefully, on the Pico House aspects of the cost, if we go through the structural cost and design cost, in order to get their approval to move on both project design and construction of the seismic rehabilitation at the same time.
And Councilman Chris Espinosa, General Manager of El Pueblo Historical Monument. El Pueblo has its own capital improvement program, and that's funded separately through MICLA and CIEP. Right now, we're doing a cash reconciliation of all our projects and some of the projects that we may not move forward on in order to fund that seismic renovation. So that project will not, as I understand it right now, it will not be on this, but it will be separately funded through the capital improvement program.
So it's not PEG funds. This was leading to the maybe the next obvious question. Even if we want to do it with PEG funds, are we, under legal restrictions about our ability to do the related projects with PEG funds? The Pico House.
The goal right now, we're working with Bureau Engineering staff and the City Administrative Officer to review our own capital program to pay for that portion.
And obviously everybody benefits by doing it together. It makes it cheaper across the board.
Yes.
Yeah, and Pico House needs that type of investment to get it to the point where we can rent it out. For some time now, it was under a lawsuit and just had a lack of funding. Now, with our own capital improvement program, we're able to invest, and this is a great project to kind of piggyback off of it.
I guess I just don't want us to get sued down the road for misusing, for using PEG funds creatively, and I shouldn't say misusing because there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I want to make sure we're ironclad on how we do this.
And Councilman, if I could add, so for that very reason, the funding that Mahmoud and Chris are referring to are outside of the TDA funds and are part of the capital funds that are part of the El Pueblo, maintenance. So those are completely separate, and just because of the very reason that you're stating, it would not be eligible to utilize those funds for Pico House, since that's not part of the PEG facility that's part of Channel 35.
Yeah, our program, well, overall, over time, it's been about 30 million. Now we're down to the last, say, 5 million. We're investing about 2, and that leaves us a little bit over 3 that we're going to put towards the Pico. And we understand that this is a priority project. This is one great chance to start making investments in this place with, like I said, piggybacking off this project. So we're going to move forward on that.
Great synergy.
Thank you. And the Pico House, the whole thing about making it more viable, is the restrooms?
Yeah, so...
other things?
Right.
Memory serves me.
It had some seismic upgrades back in 2000, but the city did a kind of a quick job on it. It was still under that lawsuit, so we never really finished it off. So if you go into the upper floors, very raw space, no restrooms, and so it needs a lot of work still. But seismic is everything. Seismic is step one to everything else. And so that's the great thing that we're going to do. And the whole building structure from the Masonic, Merced, and Pico, they're all kind of tied together. Right. And so that heavier load on the Merced and Masonic side will have an impact on the Pico. So and that's the reason why we're moving in that direction.
So under this whole banner of resiliency planning for structures, it fits right in with what you're doing.
That's right.
And then others, a question. What is this double helix sort of DNA spiral represent? I'm just curious.
That's a new elevator.
Trying to figure that out.
There is a new elevator house to the building. The building doesn't have that. And since there's 3 floors to get into, so that's a new addition to the building. And basically, we're putting our own footprint on the building. So hopefully 100 years from now, somebody will look at it and say, that era they built these elevators. Now, why the elevators is like that is that the architects and designers, through the analysis of some of the work on the building grate and railings, they came up with that design, which is a steel twisted that way going, and there will be a glass behind it to give the house to the elevator that goes up and down.
It'll be lit.
And it will be lit at night, so we are fully aware.
There's no sneaking in and out of this building.
No.
Well, you know, the properties are on the National Register of Historic Places, and so they have to be built to a historic standard. The facades are what they're going to be. And so this gives the architect an opportunity to be creative, and, you know, we need ADA access and loading access, so they're making a very a beautiful elevator shaft. Elevator shaft.
I think they actually took, when they were talking through different design alternatives, they took their inspiration for this, I think, from television waves in wanting to capture something, an element to the building that would represent what is occupying the facility.
I love it. It's reminiscent of Star Trek when they beam you.
That's right.
That's what I thought. Anyway, I digress.
I'd like to add, ITA is just very pleased with the progress that we're making with the project, and I'm very thankful to have Bureau of Engineering at the helm, really driving the project management for moving this forward. We've worked very well with El Pueblo, Chris and his team, and the group that we have of outside contractors. The architect that we have is world-renowned Rodo and Associates, and we have just been nothing but good results with the designs that they've put forward so far.
Exciting.
Very exciting.
The television waves, by the time it's built, will be historical things.
There you go.
That might be.
It could be used as a cellular transport, maybe. But
So, without objection, we're going to approve this report. And hearing no objection, confirmed no objection, it's approved. And that's our last item. Anything else on the docket?
Nothing, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.